Joining us now is Dr. Kimberly Mehlman-Orozco. She's a human trafficking expert and the author of Hidden in Plain Sight, America's Slaves of the New Millennium. Thank you very much for your time. Now, tell us more about the ways in which human traffickers are using online platforms to recruit vulnerable people.
So I talk about this a little bit in my book, right? Human trafficking, it's not like the movie Taken. They're not using typically physical force where people are being kidnapped, held against their will. They're using deception, they're using fraud, they're using coercion. And the reality is the internet facilitated information sharing and communication in a variety of capacities, including trafficking. So traffickers will go online, they'll go to sites where they can know that they can meet people, for example, Omegle, Facebook, Twitter, any social media platform that you can think of, and they're looking for people who are friending strangers, who are connecting with individuals who they're not intimately familiar with, and initially they will try to ingratiate them, they'll try to befriend them, and pretend to be whatever void that person has in their life. I talk about this a lot in my book. They're looking at whatever void an individual has, and they're making the false promise to fulfill that void. So I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs for people who are, for example, housing insecure, or if they're a refugee, they're making the false promise to, provide them services, to provide them housing, to provide them jobs and opportunities. For women who might have issues with self-esteem, they're building up their self-esteem, offering opportunities for love and belonging or self-actualization. Traffickers really are pretending to be a hero to people in need and to fill those voids. So they're going on social media apps, they're going on the internet, and they're looking for people who might have a void, and they're making the false promise to fulfill that void.
I think it's quite an interesting take on how, some of these more broader organisations are trying to tackle human trafficking by using some of these online services that you speak of as well. How has that specifically been trying to target those women and children, and also perhaps young boys and men who are fleeing Ukraine?
So the interesting thing is, because we know that traffickers are going online to both recruit and to sell people in the commercial sex industry, and as well as for labor trafficking, law enforcement uses these technologies as a tool as well. So they have machine learning technologies, they have artificial intelligence, they have abilities to do facial recognition software. And with regards to refugees and people who are coming in the country, essentially you're looking for organizations or entities that making bold promises that it's not really looking to fulfill those promises. So offering job opportunities where they're promising large salaries, or opportunities for shelter where there isn't really a substantiation of that. And so law enforcement, they are partnering with various technologies, including even dating platforms, to see how we can automate the ways in which we screen this information and we protect people who potentially are vulnerable, including refugees.
Many people's first instincts, perhaps, when they hear about human trafficking, is to think how women and girls are most affected. But how does this kind of stereotyping of trafficking victims leave out boys and men when it comes to policy?
That's an excellent question, and one of the issues that we have with trafficking-related crimes is that they're very clandestine, right? They're hidden in plain sight. You can oftentimes encounter these types of forms of exploitation without even knowing it. And the reality is, depending on the country, so I know you talked about the Palermo Protocol, which was passed in 2000. In the United States here, we have the TVPA, which is our national federal legislation to combat this issue. And unfortunately, a lot of the focus is on commercial sexual exploitation, and specifically exploitation of women and girls. But the reality is, when you're talking about labor trafficking, it's predominantly men. But again, we don't have very good statistics. We do not have empirical analysis that can really quantify the size. But if you're looking at labor trafficking, which is estimated to be the larger share of human trafficking crimes, it is predominantly expected that mostly it's men and boys who are being exploited.